You're listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense with your host, Doug Thorpe. Here's Doug.
Well, hello again, everyone. Hope you're having a great day and off to a good start. This is Doug Thorpe and another episode of Leadership Powered by Common Sense. It's my privilege today to have a gentleman who himself has a very distinguished career in various senior roles through several different industries. He's written a book about it. And we are going to dive in and talk about those experiences and just the overall development of your ability to be a better leader. My guest is Mosongo Moukwa. Mosongo, welcome, sir.
Yeah, Doug, thank you very much for the opportunity to be on your show.
So give us, if you would, sir, a little bit of an overview or a short tour of your career and some of those stops in the different industries you've been a part of.
Yes, actually, I came into a leadership role, Doug, almost by accident. I could say it that way. So I was a research fellow at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. So when I finished that, I was hired by a company in the Cleveland area, and initially they hired me to be what they were calling principal scientist. So once I got there, the vice president of the department called me and said, "Well, Mosongo would like to make you a manager. We don't have a research group, and we would like for you to build one for us," and so on. So. But then my reaction was that, well, I've not managed anybody, so I don't know if this is something I did not dream of, because I was really thinking, hey, I'll start my career as a scientist, I'll develop products, I'll have the company to have intellectual properties, I'll travel the country, giving presentation on behalf of the company. So that just came as a shock to me. But I took it, so I did not have any mentor per se. So essentially, I was on my own. So some people came along the way to support me and so on, but I have to learn really on my own. So that's how I began really to in the leadership type of role. 1 year passed, 2 years passed, and then I had a very great career, which I've enjoyed. But that experience also taught me that it allowed me to actually take risk later on in my career, because it gave me the ability of taking on a different senior role in a different organization, completely different line of product, different industry. So I always go back to, hey, I was given that opportunity and I rose to the occasion. So therefore, this is another challenge, and I need to have that growth mindset and learn. So that's really how my trajectory has been. So I work as a vice president of the global technology at SC Johnson. Then I became vice president for a company here in the North Carolina, in the Triangle area, Rycord. I worked there. And then from there, I had an assignment to go in India to help them build their research and development organization from ground up, the physical as well as hiring people. So I did that, and then after that was completed, I came back to the US. Then I took a job with PolyOne, a company called PolyOne, based in Avon Lake. Today it's called Avient, and so I was there in charge of their technical operation there, reporting to the president of that division. And then in between, I started my own ventures, companies and so on. And today I'm actually president of Hathaway Advanced Materials, a chemical company. We make specialty chemicals. And then that's one venture. And the other venture is that I coach small business owners. Nice. So this is really in a nutshell my trajectory. And then I compile some of the lessons that I've learned into the book that you alluded to in the beginning of our conversation.
Well, one thing I want to go back to your very first appointment as a manager in that first organization, what you described is classic Western business strategy. That's what we all do. If we're running a company, we need a frontline supervisor. We go to somebody that we perceive to be the most productive, the most appealing. We find the best engineer, the best accountant, the best whatever, and we say, you need to be the team leader here. And that person may go, oh, really? Or, they might raise their hand and say, I'll do it, but I'm not prepared. I don't even know what this may be about. And often the business is inclined to say, oh, you'll figure it out. Just, we're going to do the paperwork and there you go. It's your show. And
yes, yes, actually, that's exactly what this fellow told me. Say, you're going to figure it out. And then he say, if you're not doing it, you would know. That's exactly. I still remember. You would
right.
know. You would know.
Yeah. If you got it wrong, we're going to tell you. Yeah.
Yes.
So it is unfortunate, and it's as you know, folks. We were talking in the green room. Mosongo is an ICF certified coach now, and there's a lot of things we in that world deal with and talk about, but it's. What we often see is we are presented new clients and they have been on this journey. They're maybe at their third or fourth, maybe even fifth promotion. And just now the company is deciding to engage a coach for them and give them some help in being a better leader. And you're going, seriously? You're finally getting around to it. Well, good for you. That's definitely positive. But what if we had done it sooner? Would we have helped them be better in those first 3 to 5 years, 8 years, 10 years, maybe?
Yes. No, this is really a good point there, Doug, because I had to learn from scratch, huh? But I think at least in my case, what allowed me also is it allowed me to also develop my own to discover my own authenticity. To give an example, I remember during that period I was given a project. That was a big project, and then the vice president assigned that project to me, but he had in his mind who he wanted as part of my team to lead that project. So as I was looking at how we should go about doing the project and so on, and I came to realize actually no, there is a better person for that project for us really to pull it through. So when he asked me, he said, "Who did you pick up for that project?" He was hoping that I would say Frank, just to give a name. And then I said, "No, I think Mike is a better person to do that." And then in the room, I could see all the other manager, their face in their notepad and so on, because it's like, how dare you contradict this VP and so on. But then I just had that strong feeling that was the right thing to do. And then eventually we actually succeeded, huh? Just despite that early opposition, if you will, huh? So because I recognized that fellow was very hardworking, an intelligent fellow, and perhaps one of our group's brightest mind, huh? But the VP thought very little of that fellow for some reason. But I just felt that at the end of the day, I'm going to be accountable for the project. Let me give it to this fellow, and I just felt that I had to be true myself, huh? So because I did not want to act on based on some obligations or expectations of others, but it worked well, and I realized that as a leader, if you have to be aware and discover that authenticity, because it's going to help you to come truthful to the people you are leading. Then you begin also to develop that trust that you build there, and you can get them actually to be extremely productive.
Well, you raise a great point, and for people that are early in their management career, there is that sense of I guess I'll call it obligation to the boss, and you want to please the boss, you want to perform to the boss's standard. And if the boss is someone who is prone to kind of dictate how you should be operating your team, having that conviction to say, no, I'm not going to do that. You've told me to be accountable for this. Here's what I prefer to do. I want to take Mike. I don't want to take Frank. And having that sense of, you use the word authentic, and I agree totally. It's a great word, but it's also your own level of confidence and conviction, and that confidence factor is often a struggle for the young manager, because what do we hear a lot of talk about? Imposter syndrome.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. That confidence is required. So it also calls for some courage. Huh? You have to be courageous. When I took that stand, many of my colleagues, actually, some of them came to me and say, well, you may want to reconsider this. The boss, he's very unhappy, and whatnot. And I just felt that it was almost like that dissonance, with doing what he was asking me to do and what I felt this is the right thing to do. And we can actually give the results, because I had so much press on the individual, and I worked closely with him, and we were actually produced. And that fellow actually became one of our most productive technical fellow in the company. And so much so that a few years down the road, now the company began to rely upon him to give him major projects. So it turned out actually very well for all of us.
Well, and now we're bridging over into the idea of good leaders develop other leaders, and giving. We've used the name Mike here, giving Mike that opportunity to take that first project, I'm sure was a development step for him. And being able to demonstrate his abilities, probably stretch and grow a little bit during that engagement, and then evolve into that trusted advisor specialist that they could go to in later years.
Yeah, and you absolutely do, because actually you have to enable others. Huh? So that's also one of our objectives as one of our roles as leaders. But now developing others can be tricky. Huh? It can be complex, and it can be perhaps uncomfortable at the time. Huh? But what I've learned is that the development of others is actually like a journey of exploration. Huh? So they have to believe that this is also a journey of exploration. In a way, it's punctuated with moments of discovery, if I could put it like that. So while you're on that journey of development, then they have to maintain a growth mindset, and you put it right, because the individual has to also display that growth mindset. Huh? So while you're leading them forward, then they must continue. At least you as a leader, you must continue to reinforce that they believe in themselves. Huh? So that's also an extremely important. So they have to display that growth mindset, but you also as a leader, you have to continue to reinforce that you believe in them, that they're actually going to succeed.
Right. Yeah, it is that idea of nurturing that. If you pick up on some high potential, latent talent, I guess people talk about, and, setting them up to demonstrate and prove their worth is, really valuable opportunity there. And it is something so I guess I'll sum it up another way. It's not just about you being successful in what you're doing to move on and be able to advance your career, but if you're really leading the enterprise around you, you're going to be thinking about development of others so that you create some bench strength that the company can use long term. And maybe part of it is, developing your replacement is a popular theme, some people talk about that they feel like their first job is to train up their own replacement.
Yes. Now, you're absolutely right, because the way I looked at leadership, Doug, is that leadership is not a solo venture. Huh? So leadership is not about how far we progress. It's really about how far we help others to progress. That's what I would say. It's also a key to building a legacy, huh? Because now you develop other leaders. They in turn they will carry your legacy, quote unquote. And then by doing so, you also scale up the impact. You actually multiply the impact in terms of creativity, in terms of talent. So that's what development of people, the outcome of development people is really.
I like that. I really do. So let's shift gears a little bit. Tell us about this book you've compiled. What's the title of it?
Yeah, the book is called "Be a Leader of Significance." That's really what the title of the book is, and it's a book that took me a long time to write. But really, the motivation of the book was that what I came to realize is that at the foundation of good leadership is really that human connection. So that emotional connection, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And the quality of that emotional connection. That's really what will establish how strong and effective your leadership is. So I wrote the book. What inspired me to write the book is really because I believe that is important, and it's at the heart of every organization. And if you look at the heart of every organization, you'll find that the human experience is really important. So, and when leaders tap into those basic desires, then they can help others achieve extraordinary things and create meaningful and lasting impact. David Brooks, in one of his books, he said that we are social animals. So regardless of the circumstances and uncertainty, we are yearning for that human connection. So I've spent my career leading the teams, working with different organizations across industries, across continents, and then what I've learned is that the true measure of leadership is not in a number. It's about those daily interactions that will ignite or spark potential in others, that will inspire them to overcome challenges and help them achieve more than they thought it was possible. So in the book, I wanted to share my journey, some insight, and also offer actionable practices that will show leaders how they can create those moments of significance for those that they lead. So
like
obviously
that.
Yes.
I like that thinking, and I love the title, "Being a Leader of Significance." And it, when I hear that, I certainly don't take it as any kind of statement of ego. It's not. It's but it's that higher calling to be able to be that leader that can influence. They can lead change. They can create. I always go back to the phrase, the greater good. You can, if the company says we're going to be about X, Y, and Z, all right, how are you going to get there? What does that look like? And how can we achieve that? And as long as the leader is kind of continually looking for ways to add value, you are going to be a leader of significance. And
yes.
And
because the financial outcome would always be achieved, but you will achieve more if you tap into the heart and mind of the people, because that's really what stays with them. Just to tell you, whenever I meet the people that I work with in the past and so on, and over coffee or whatnot, we're talking. We never talk about that we had the company increase market share or the stock price went in, but instead we talk about some of the experiences that we went through, That people would tell you that, oh man, when we're doing that project, I really like the way art came, from manufacturing, even though that project was not his. It really helped us pull that product. That was tremendous experience. That's what the people are remembering. They are not
Right.
remembering
No, I
that,
agree
hey,
with
that
you.
product made $1 million their first year. And that's not what they remember that experience as though they want to relive it. So that's really what it is. That's why tapping into that hearts and minds of people is actually tremendous, huh? Because
I
you can
agree.
inspire people. Yeah.
And I've often, when I work with my own coaching clients, we often end up talking a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy of need to
Mm-hmm.
really dial into that sense of the humanness. And if you study Maslow, he describes various levels in kind of a pyramid of human existence.
Mm-hmm.
And at its base level, and I tell leaders this, when you're looking at your team and you say to yourself, George or Sally, they don't seem like themselves today. I wonder what's going on. Well,
Mm-hmm.
they've probably had an experience. Maybe it was a struggle with the spouse, or maybe a child is sick, or a elder is sick, and you're distracted. You're worried about that. Yeah. You're kind of bouncing up and down that Maslow's hierarchy of your certainty of your own existence, or a loved one's existence, or a relationship issue.
Yeah.
And you don't do your intellectual work, your frontal cortex engagement. You don't do that until you climb up higher on that hierarchy of Maslow. And when George left the house this morning, had a big blow up with the spouse, and now comes to work, he's probably not his best self. He's distracted. He's tugged. He's pulled in another direction. So it's that human level that has engaged, and you can't just crack a whip and say, let's get on with this. Let's get focused.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was telling one friend of mine who was just talking about leadership and so on. And that was after one of the shootings there in one of our schools here, unfortunately. And I was saying, I said that as a leader, when you go to work, don't come there and talk to people about Second Amendment, whether you are pro or you are against. No, man, your employee, what they're worrying about is whether the kids are safe. That's what you have to show. You have to show that compassion and empathy. Don't come there trying to debate with the employees. But so that's a good point. But I want to pick up on one thing you said, Doug, which is extremely important. What I've learned is that what the employees are looking for is what? They're looking for a sense of belonging. Remember, early in my career, there was this chemist, extremely bright, coming up with a lot of innovation for the organization and so on. So I met with him by the coffee machine. I asked him, I said, what is it about here that really, makes you come every day? I thought this fellow was going to tell me, oh, we're working on great projects, we are doing this and that. No, what he told me is that I enjoy coming here because during lunchtime I can play ping pong with Mike. I said, oh. I said, yeah, because then I get to talk to him and so on. And then, we have a good connection and so on. So what that revealed to me is that what is important for employees also that sense of belonging, that sense of affiliation. So that's one element. The other one that is extremely important is what those psychologists are calling psychological safety. I remember there was this young lady who used to be in one department there, marketing, and then she got transferred to my department for personal development and so on. And she was telling me that when she was hired there in that group, her boss was always there praising her. She was invited to meeting and so on. But over time, she was no longer invited and so on and so on. And then finally, she got transferred to my group. So I asked her, I said, did you go to your boss and ask why you are no longer invited in those meetings? She said, no, I did not invite because I did not feel safe even to ask that question. So she said, and then she added, she said, I felt really invisible in that group. So that psychological safety is extremely important that you as a leader, you need to create. When you're in a meeting, don't let one person there overrun a meeting. You can say, hey, John, I know you're passionate about this topic, but I would like to hear from Stefan, for example. Now all of a sudden people, they feel like, hey, I have some space here. So those are the things that people need to realize. But the third one is that employees, they need to feel valued. I remember one manager many years ago, and I did not remember that, but he reminded me. I was walking in the corridor, apparently, and I told him, I said, hey, listen, I see you. I did not forget you. I just want you to know. And then I continue on. And he told me later on, maybe a month or years, I don't know. He said that gesture that I had there meant a lot for him. He felt extremely valued just by by me seeing him, so to speak. So those are some of the things that us as a manager, we really need to be aware, because
I agree.
Yeah.
That whole idea of the psychological safety, of course, is a great study precipitated by Google back in 2018. They released their big Project Aristotle analysis that identified that. And I've got a story along that line. I was coaching a team at one of the big oil companies, and we did a little bit of a team survey about alignment of principle and purpose for the team and all that. And we discovered when we got the survey results back, all of the team was clustered in one quadrant on the grid, but there was one guy way out, an outlier, just way out off the other side of the chart. And we were going to have a meeting with the team and debrief on this survey. And before it started, I was in the manager's office. He said, what should I do about this? And I said, well, number one, you cannot do a witch hunt to figure out who that guy is. You've got to see if the team's going to self-select and, open the discussion now that we have the data points. He said, okay, well, so we go into the meeting, and before we barely had just gotten set down, and one guy raises his hand and he goes, I'm that dot. I know I'm that dot. And he said, this data proves it. He said, to be honest, I love what we do here, but I know I'm always the contrarian. And he says, I think I'm going to request a transfer so I don't interrupt what you guys are doing. And the whole room went, no. They said, no, do not leave. We love the fact that you are a voice of contra thinking. You help us, crystallize what we're doing, and you disrupt the herd mentality that we might otherwise get into. So please, if we've made you feel bad for being the contrarian, we apologize. and let's just say it here and now. We love having you on our team. Please do not think about leaving.
Yes.
And it was a moment. It was a defining moment for that team.
Yes. And when you go to a meeting, we often look at people and see who is here. But actually, I sometimes think that maybe we should ask who is not here. We should have been here, So that some people, so that you can get that input. It's not always who is there. It's also who is not here that should have been here. Actually, yeah.
Well, and this same team I was working with, and there was another element. We were following a little bit of the Patrick Lencioni playbook on building a team charter and a team vision statement. And we got to one point talking about the team contract. We started talking about sort of rules of engagement and rules of the road. And one of the guys who was an engineer, he spoke up and he said, we don't need this. We know each other. We know what we're doing. We know, we're wasting our time with this. And a lady on the team spoke up and she said, I disagree. I don't think we know each other like we need to know each other. And I think we do need to do this work. And I think it will reveal a much more well-defined opportunity for us. So we finished doing, that day's session, and this guy that had objected went over. I heard him. He went over to her and he said, I owe you an apology. You're right. we don't really know each other like I thought we did. And he said, it's not a bad thing. It's just, it's work we need to do. And he said, I'm on board now. I get it. I need to change my thinking on this. So, it was a very positive experience.
Yeah. Which no, this is a great story there, Doug. Which reminds me that what I've learned, and actually it was when I was doing my MBA many years ago. We had a professor there. He was teaching appreciative inquiry, and what he taught us is that we need to learn from stories of others. And so one of the exercises that at that time he told us to do, but then later on I applied it during my role management, is that to have a group of two people. So one will interview the other, and then they can turn. But then the question will be, what is that experience that made you come alive? And what is that enlivening experience? And then whether it's personal, whether it's at work, and so on. And then so this interviewee will tell his or her story, and then the interviewer now will come in front of the group and then relate the story to everybody. And that was very powerful because as people are talking about those things that really excited them, those experiences that really made them come alive, some of them, they went back up to 10 years ago and it's still playing in the back of their mind. And so that was very powerful, because by learning that, then what I realized that if I put the individual in that situation that made them come alive, actually I can get the most out of them. They'll feel whole sort of way. And so that's because stories actually they can be revealing and showing things that are important to us. So I like that story that you said there.
Yeah, thank you. No, I agree. And there's a whole other discussion we can have. That is a theme of leadership ability, that ability to find stories that help perpetuate the message and get the point across to people. But I tell you what, Mosongo, we're about up on time for this episode. Thank you so much for sharing. Tell people the best way to get a hold of you if they're interested in learning more.
Yeah, if they want to learn more, they could reach me through my website, mosongomoukwa.coach. So that's one way to reach me. And then in that particular website, I have a free book there for if your listeners, some of them, they are other small business owners and so on. There is a free book there that they can download for them, and then they could give me some feedback. And if they do, please make sure you mention that you are listening to a Doug Thorpe show. So that's one of reaching me. The other way, obviously, is through LinkedIn. I can be reached there as well.
Very good. Well, again, thank you for your time and your expertise sitting in here. And folks, as always, we will have those links he mentioned in our show notes. So when you get to, if you're listening on your favorite streaming service and you get to a safe place, feel free to hop down in the show notes, check out those links and jump over there and read more about Mosongo's work, his books, and that free book he's got there. But with this, we're going to shut this down for today, let you get back to your work, and I hope you can go out there, make it a great one.
You've been listening to Leadership Powered by Common Sense, hosted by Doug Thorpe. If you would like to know more about the coaching and advisory services he provides, visit dougthorpe.com.